Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fin Factor. I'm Paul.
And I'm Aaron.
So number 96, we're doing it live, baby.
96, man. I can't believe we made it this far. That's
Crazy,
almost
right?
100.
You can count. Hey, another amazing thing. We've got a few people waiting for the comments there to go ahead and send in things you'd like us to talk about. We'll talk about some other things first, and we'll get to those. For those people that are waiting, though, I do encourage you. Let's get that room a little bit more full. Why don't we see if you could, if you saw it on a tweet, retweet it out to your friends. If you saw it on Facebook, share that as well. Let's get a few more people in here, get a good conversation going. I'm sure Nicholas Egan's sitting in there waiting probably, but we'll see if we can get a good handful more. Aaron, how have you been, man?
Good, man. It's been, it's been a while, but Christmas and New Year's went well with the family, so that was a nice little break and a nice return back to hockey. Coming back, right? Actually, their New Year's Eve, I think, was their opening day for the Sharks, so that was nice to kind of read some real news instead of speculating what the team and what the league and everything is going to look like. So at least we're on track to have hockey back. And was it the World Juniors going on right now? Is that the tournament that's going on? So there is some hockey. It's exciting to see the clips because I'm not actually watching it. Unfortunately, I don't have an NHL channel yet. I'm going to be getting it very soon. So yeah, how about you? How was your New Year's and your holiday break?
And things are going pretty well over here. I've got we have a new addition to the family. Don't freak out. It's a fish. The fish is alive and well, which is more than I can say for other fish that I've had. The kids wanted a pet, and we sprung for the what's it called, the beta, I guess, the beta fish. So
beta, those things like fight, don't they?
Yeah, and I found that if I show him a sunflower seed, he thinks it's another fish, and he puffs up. It's pretty funny. So try not to stress him out. So I only did it like once or twice. But anyway, regardless, from fish to sharks, here we are. Finally, some news to talk about. We got Bob Boughner saying that we'll start off with the defense here. I think that both Erik Karlsson and Brent Burns should be playing on the first power play unit, which is pretty interesting. Last time they had them split up, and sometimes they would play them together, and we did like seeing that. I remember talking about Burns in the OV office and having Erik Karlsson feed him over there. So it looks like that might be the situation for this upcoming season. Again, it's just training camp right now, so lots of things still in flux. But kind of your take on that, and then of course that leaves a door open on power play number 2. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think what Bob Boughner is going to do and kind of have to do this season is play his best players, kind of put them together instead of spreading them out, spreading the love, if you will. So, I mean, you have Burns and Karlsson on the power play. And I think he had mentioned in one of his interviews that one of them's going to be kind of. I think they're going to be playing that spot where LeBanc was up on the boards, or Joe Thornton, and then the other one's going to be at the top, and they're going to kind of cycle around and stuff. So I think the power play is obviously going to look a lot different with different, maybe not so much personnel, but a different feel, a different style than what we've seen, which is great because I feel like the power play was getting pretty stale. So, and without Pavelski in the lineup again, obviously, we don't have that tipping from the point from the Burns shot. So I think the strategy really needed to change.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's interesting you said on the spot where LeBanc was. I feel like LeBanc's still probably going to be on that first power play unit, but he was on the right boards and Burns was setting up on the left board. So if you think maybe Burns at the top of the point, Erik Karlsson kind of controlling the boards, that might be an interesting look too. But like you said, Ryan Merkley getting a look right now as the second power play quarterback, if you will. And I think we've actually got a clip on something from Bob Boughner saying about Ryan Merkley, and we'll get to that maybe a little bit later on here. But I mean, it's a really good opportunity for Ryan here to step in and play with the big guys. Again, the whole taxi squad thing, we'll talk about that too. But basically, going to give him a pretty long, extended look at being able to play and practice with the big club, not so much having to play or practice with the Barracuda. He's going to have to play with the big boys here. So he's going to learn a lot, and hopefully he does it fast. He put on some extra weight, they said. Middleton had described his play saying he looks like Klingberg out there in Dallas where he's walking the blue line and everything. So, he's made some big strides, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think, oh man, I think my screen just went off. I think, sorry, I'm trying to do some troubleshooting here as it worked during the live. Merkley, what were we talking about? Merkley running the power play, the second power play. Yeah, I just turned bright shades of red here.
All good. You
Yeah.
can just subject changed. I can change it for you if you need to. Like, also, Mario Ferraro, right? Mario Ferraro.
It was an interesting quote from Bugner talking about Merkley on the second power play because here we thought he was probably going to start off in the AHL, but now it looks like you and I kind of talked about this offline. He's probably going to be at least on the taxi squad going forward because the AHL isn't even starting until February, so he's going to have some time with the big boys and at least learning the game and everything. Being on the second power play, though, I think it's also going to depend on who's going to make the opening night roster. It could be Shimmick might even be out. Like, we don't know, which could mean another left-handed shot coming in. So Pashnuk maybe making it in there. But maybe Merkley makes it in, and that's Ferraro's partner for the third pairing. But I have a feeling Ferraro's going to get bumped up, especially from what they've been saying.
Yeah, it looks like Ferraro is going to end up being the top 4 pairing there. So looks like he's getting a shot with Brent Burns, which is awesome. So if Ferraro plays with Burns, that leaves both 5 and 6 D-man positions wide open. The 7th spot was the one that was open beforehand, kind of 6 and 7. But if Shimmick's got a knee problem, he said, I haven't done anything wrong. I've done all the right things, and I just started playing and skating around. I think it was in the Czech Republic, and he's saying I didn't do anything wrong, and my knee started bothering me. So some days I can be 100%, and some days I can't. It's kind of interesting to hear somebody be so kind of like upfront about that. Usually, no, everything's fine, and there's really a problem behind the scenes. So maybe he's just hasn't quite learned the hockey hide the injury lingo quite yet. But it was kind of refreshing to hear him say, "Yeah, I have an issue." So Shimmick might not be on the opening night roster. We'll have to see how that goes. They might want him to kind of sit it out and make sure that his knee's 100%. Even though he's had tons and tons of time off. If after all this time off, he gets back on a pair of skates and it's still bothering him, that might not bode well for his career, which would be really unfortunate. But, on the positive side of things, not for Shimmick necessarily, but for the Sharks, that does put Mario Ferraro in a position that he can get more than, 10 minutes a night or whatever it was he was getting. Playing alongside a guy like Brent Burns, you can learn a whole heck of a lot. So that really, now you take a look at the third pair. Well, now that's wide open for Ryan Merkley, right? I mean, who else would you put in there? There's the Needsop, I can't pronounce his name. And then Middleton. Middleton was doing fine until he got injured last season too. So Middleton could certainly be a guy that they're looking at that's almost a shoo-in if Shimmick's not there. And he's a left shot as well, I believe. So, there's a lot of things up in the air for both the forward core and the defense. But talking about defense now, it looks like that 5-6 position is kind of more or less wide open for the taking. It's just a matter of those guys showing the coaching staff that they're ready to do it. And I think Ryan Merkley has kind of stated as much. He says, I think I've done enough. And I don't know the word enough. I think he should have just left that one out in that quote. But I think hopefully the way that he said it, it didn't mean like, I feel like I've done just enough. We'll see. But, definitely it'll be interesting to see where they end up on the opening night roster.
Yeah, I have a feeling like this first month is going to be like a rotating thing, especially with injuries. If Shimmick is still really not 100%, that's going to be something. I mean, I almost think he slipped today when he said that because he wasn't really asked directly about it, but he just kind of was brutally honest. It was like, oh wow, like that's not looking good to start the season. Now we're gonna have to. Now we understand why. Not so much. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on names here. I'm so distracted right now. Not so much how well Mario Ferraro was doing, but some other players, I think, especially with the Merkley one. So yeah, the defense I think is going to be a rotating group, especially with the Simic injury news that we just got today.
So I know we've got a couple of clips. Did you want to jump into those right now? Because they're talking about the players we just talked about.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's roll those. This is Bob Bugner and Merkley, I believe, and then after that we'll have him talking about Mario Ferraro as well. So go ahead and play those clips.
Speaking of another defenseman, how did Ryan Merkley look today in game action? Did that extra weight or mass he added over the offseason help?
Yeah, I thought Ryan looked pretty good. I think that we did a 20-minute stop period And then after the first period, we put one team on the power play for 6 minutes, the other team killing. Then we did the same thing after the second period where we had, a special teams game. And you could tell, obviously, when he gets on the power play, what his strengths are. And so he can run a power play. And I think if we're going to have Burns and Karlsson on the first unit, we're going to need to find someone to complement that second unit at the top. And that's where Merck's tools take over and keeps him in the conversation anyways, for the most part, for the next little while.
So that they're talking about Ryan Merkley. So kind of the things we just kind of talked about, actually. But so we'll go ahead and just roll for Mario Ferraro, the clip that Bob Bugner was talking to him about that.
Hey, Bob, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Mario Ferraro. Obviously, when he came to camp last year, there was not much expectation there that he'd make the team. But how do you see him coming into camp this year, and what kind of steps can he make in his second year?
I think I can tell you already, and after day 3, I think he looks a heck of a lot more confident now than he did last year at this time. And that comes with, some experience. And I think he's had a good summer. He came in amazing shape. And, I would say on today's game we had, he was the best defenseman on the ice. So there's major strides in his, his maturity, and I think his confidence. And, I wouldn't be surprised, opening night puck drop, that he's not sitting in our top 4 if he keeps progressing in camp like he is.
And I just saw a comment, somebody saying we still have Trevor Carrick too. That's correct, but I think Carrick was more of a call up out of necessity than anything else. So I'm not sure. We'll see if he's kind of in the mix too. I know he's in camp and everything, and again, that taxi squad holds up to 6 players, so maybe he'll be part of that as well. But I think more of the front runners are going to be. Hopefully, Merkley's kind of in that front runner position. So get him a year of NHL experience before Burns gets taken in the Seattle draft. So that'd be exceptional. So yeah, but you're absolutely right. There are a number of other prospect defensemen that we have, or AHL defensemen, that maybe are ready to take that step into being that 6th, 7th defenseman. So yes, Trevor Carrick, an oversight by us, caught by you. I believe that was Nicholas Egan, of course. So there you go on that one. Aaron, anything else you wanted to say about defense, or you good to go?
I think just this year the whole system is going to be a lot different. So I think we're going to see a better defensive unit, specifically as like the whole team, not so much the defenders, but they're going to be moving things differently. And I think because we have such offensive talent with Burns and Karlsson and maybe even Merkley, they're going to be able to possess the puck and enter the zone. And I think they're trying to tailor, from what it sounds like, they're trying to tailor the offense around it, because they were talking about how they want their defensemen to cycle in to the offensive zone. So I'm imagining not so much a dump and chase, but if they can possess, especially Karlsson and Merkley, they can possess and skate around some people. It really throws off the defense on the other team. As long as the Sharks have one of their forwards cover the defenseman when they go down low, it's going to be a total. Paul, from playing, like, just communication from the other team of having to pick up the defenseman coming in, because that's usually the winger that's covering the defenseman. And if they're going down low behind the goal, the winger's gonna be like, am I supposed to follow him? Do I stay at the point with now the forward? They have to switch off. So I think they're trying to create chaos and open up some seams there. It's just going to be a completely different look to the Sharks. But it also speaks to the personnel that they have on defense and the ability to do all that. So I think that's going to bode well for the Sharks. And I've been reading so much about not so much like Sharks fans, but just other outlets about how the Sharks are going to be doom and gloom and terrible, and they haven't added anybody from the free agency list, and nobody of note, and they've lost, a couple people. But you don't take into account that the strides and steps that your young guys have taken. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be a bunch of all-star players all of a sudden on the Sharks, but those young players that got some experience last year, especially the ones when they got to see what it was like when you're on a losing team and a bad team, they're going to come out more motivated than before, and they learn from their mistakes. So they're going to be better. So I'm still confident that this team is going to be that 3rd or 4th spot in to make the playoffs out of that division of the teams that they put together. So, I'm more of an optimist anyway. I'm not so doom and gloom on the Sharks. So I think they can string together some wins here, and I think they're going to surprise some teams with their new defensive look. And if they get off to a hot start, I think they're going to have a good chance here. So I kind of went off topic there, but just went off a tangent. Did a Paul.
I mean, I think they've got a good shot at least competing for that wild card position at least. So, again, I think Martin Jones and we'll talk about that later on. But I want to get to the goaltending. The goaltending's after forwards, but we'll get there in a second. I wanted to just bring up real quick. We already got the shoe thrown at Anthony Sanchez. So, because I mentioned Burns earlier,
Right.
I guess the wife found the shoes and reloaded. So, sorry about that, Anthony. Hopefully that bump heals. The one thing I did want to say though was, there it is. Thanks. The shoe has been thrown. Was with Šimek. If Šimek was healthy and Ferraro was getting the look with Burns, gosh, that would have been nice for Merkley to have Radim Šimek, a guy who's kind of that stalwart on defense, to pair up with. That would have been a really good situation for him to come into, being able to play in the NHL alongside a guy like Šimek. No disrespect to Middleton, but I think Šimek would have been a much better partner in terms of keeping the play safe when Merkley does something a little too fantastic and it doesn't go right and it comes back the other way. So that was just an observation that I had when I noticed that Ferraro got called up. Before we noticed that, it was Šimek's knee issue that probably caused him to get moved up to play alongside Brent Burns. I was thinking that would have been a really nice pairing.
Yeah, I think it's a double thing. I think partially the injury, but partially because he's been standout at camp too. So I think he's earned it. It's not like they just threw him up there because they needed a body. I think he earned that position, and he probably earned it because Šimek wasn't playing as well because he's hurt. So it's not that Šimek is even sitting out. He's still playing. He's just not feeling 100%. So, I mean, that could bode to where he's still in the lineup, but maybe now Šimek is on that third pairing and getting less minutes just to keep his knee from exploding again. And assuming that he would be able to play through it and doesn't have to have another surgery to repair anything. I really hope it doesn't come down to that. But knee injuries, as you all know, I tore my ACL. I mean, they are brutal and they are not easy to come back from. It speaks to Joe Thornton, sorry that he's not here anymore, but double knee surgery at his age, at his advanced age, which is about where I'm at right now. It's amazing that he came back and was able to play and still be effective in the league. So not everyone can do that. And you can see that. Like Šimek, I mean, he's still very young. He still has plenty of time, but maybe another 6 months off is going to do him well. So I hope not. But yeah, let's move to the forward group. Let's talk about those lines because even that today moved up a little bit, didn't it? Or changed around, I mean.
Yeah, it did just a bit, and we actually are sponsoring this segment here, the forward group segment, sponsored by this hat. Please go ahead and check out the finfactor.com. Check out the store. We've got some shirts and hats and stickers and stuff for you guys. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. But yes, you're absolutely right. The forwards, we had a little bit of movement in the forward core. Now, that top line of, I think it was Meyer, Couture, LeBanc, I think was what they had. I saw that during one of the video clips that they had of them skating around during the practice and whatnot. So those three were definitely together. And then you've got Hertl centering, who was a Kane. And then it was Ryan Donato. Ryan Donato was there for, I think, the first day or two. And then after that, it turned out that John Leonard got moved up from the line with, I think it was centered with Handmark Gambrell, sorry, was 3C alongside Marlowe. And Donato got moved to that line. I believe Leonard got moved up to that second line. Now, again, this is just training camp. So a lot of this is just kind of mixing guys around, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. You do have to earn that spot, though. So John Leonard must have done something to warrant the call up. We're talking about training camp. We're talking about practice. He must have done something real well. So that's an interesting thing that's happening there. I would love to see John Leonard and what he's capable of. I wish I could go to the practices still, but obviously that's not possible right now. I would love to see it, for myself. But all I get now are just little clips here and there. So I'm just going to have to assume that he did something phenomenal. So we'll see. But yes, so John Leonard was playing on that second line alongside Hertl and Kane. So your thoughts on that, man? I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised if this is what we see during the season. I also think that this is why they're challenging Donato. Because right now he hasn't shown that he's been able to play on the second line in the NHL. And you need to, and we've said about this before, the difference between good players and great players, because most players have the skill to play on practically any line. Most of these players, even like the fourth line grinder guys, were usually the star players on their team growing up. So it's not like they don't have any skill. They do. They just aren't the cream of the crop here that are playing the first and second lines. Now, the difference between playing on the first and second line versus the third and fourth line is consistency. If Ryan Donato can show that he consistently be a second liner, he's going to stick on that second line. If he's, if they're going to show, it's a lot of detail, and it's not always offense either. It's a bunch of other little things on defense and tracking back. So maybe he wasn't playing as well, or maybe not so much that he was playing poorly, but John Leonard was earning his promotion up. So it's less about who got put down and who's getting called up. I feel like that's at this situation. And again, it's day 3 of training camp. So it's a little too early to, we're not going to know the lines until probably the day before or 2 days before. And the coach has to try things out. You got to figure out chemistry with these players. Donato hasn't played with any of these guys, so he's just as new as Leonard playing with these guys. So you kind of have to mix and match them. Now, I think that top line, those guys are probably going to be set, unless the only one I could see is LeBanc getting bounced around if he's not playing well. But I think he's not that he's earned his spot, but I think he's working his tail off so he can stay there, and he knows it. So Bob Bugner talks about this all the time, having competition, and competition is good, because if you're always staring behind your back and you got somebody who's ready to jump in and you're not going to be able to perform, they're going to go right in there, which is also good for depth for if there's injuries, because there's always going to be injuries. So I think in this case for Leonard, it was that he was playing better. And again, not that Donato was playing poorly, but it's rewarding the players that are playing well. And that's the kind of tone you want to set with these young guys is, hey, you perform well and you consistently play well, you're going to earn your spot in the lineup. We're not going to give it to somebody who's a veteran just because they're a veteran. You're going to earn it by your play, which is good, because that's the incentive to play well and really be on top of your game. Whereas if it was the other way around, like, oh, no matter how hard you try, how well you're playing, the coach is still going to put you on the fourth line. That's just not, the incentive isn't there, there's no bonus. So again, third day, I wouldn't read too much into it, but I've heard nothing but good things about John Leonard. Pure goal scorer. To me, from what I'm reading, sounds similar to Joe Pavelski. Not that he's going to be Joe Pavelski, but a similar type player where kind of late bloomer, because he was drafted later. He played in the college program and didn't jump over right away. But I feel like it could be like one of those players that just seems to always be scoring goals, no matter where you put him or what he's doing in what situation. He just has to be there. So I'm kind of excited about him to see where he's going to end up.
Nice. I want to address a couple things in the chat. One, Anthony Sanchez, will the Sharks sign Hoffman? Tell your wife to grab that shoe and throw it at you again. That's not happening, buddy.
No.
And then right above that, actually, Jack Frost, will the Sharks sign Jonathan Dahlen? Aaron, what's the latest on, I don't know about the latest, but what was the last we heard about with Jonathan Dahlen? I know he was, he was playing the AHL for a bit there. Then he kind of got sent overseas and whatnot. And he's been playing well over there, but it seems like they want him to develop just a little bit more, I guess.
It's a weird situation. I think it's going both ways. I think he wants to go there. He wants to play there. It's from what I read, it sounds like he had a really bad experience in Vancouver's AHL team. The coaching staff, they did something where he did not like it, and it was, I don't know exactly what it had to do with, because there hasn't been many details, but it sounds like the coaching staff there doesn't have their stuff together, to put it nicely. And that kind of ruined his development for a little bit. And I don't think he demanded a trade, but I think he probably asked, like, "Hey, get me out of here! Like, I want to get out." And luckily the Sharks were able to land him. So I think that's part of it. He did go back to play in is it Sweden, right?
Probably Switzerland.
Probably Switzerland. I'm probably screwing that up. But I thought it was odd that he's in the second division. He's not in the top league there. He's in the second division. So it's like the minor league there. But he's dominating. It's almost like he's not going back to juniors, but he's playing at a level that he should be at a higher level to kind of challenge himself more, and he's not. He probably has some affiliation with that team. I know he is Swedish.
Yes.
Ulf Dahlen was his dad, so it's got to be Swedish, right? Or Finnish, Swedish. I think he's Swedish.
He's definitely playing in Sweden. Jumbo Polini says he still wants to play with children. I almost kind of get that feeling like he wants to be the top dog, but you're not gonna grow as a player if you're the top dog in the league. You want to be the guy who's middle of the pack. So that's that's where you learn to grow, is when you're being challenged. And if you're the best player in the league, you're not being challenged. So
yeah,
I'm just kind of looking over.
He's kind of smaller too, so he gets knocked around off the puck, and he needs to bulk up in order to play in the NHL and to not get hurt, because you're going to get hit no matter what.
You're going to learn to do that by playing against guys that are bigger than you. You're not going to learn to do that by dominating children as Jumbo and Polini there.
That was kind of the knock on Merkley, was that he was too tiny to play defense, and he bulked up. I think he added 10 or 12 pounds or something since last year, which is a lot, considering he went from 170 to 180 or something like that. So he's got some bulk to him. And same with who's the other one? The other defenseman, the one who was hurt all the time last year, Middleton. Jacob Middleton added some bulk to himself. So he's now like the big boy. He's 6'3". He's already big, but he added another 10, 15 pounds and also worked on his skating so he wouldn't get slower. Not that he's fast, but he didn't lose speed, which is good. When you're adding that much weight, that's not easy to do.
It seems like all these guys are making improvements to their game. The 3C in camp right now is Dylan Gambrell, and I liked Gambrell during the draft, and then the year or two after that, I was kind of like, okay, is this guy going to do anything? It seems like one of the knocks on him was he keeps getting bumped off the puck. Well, it sounds like that's one of the things he was working on, because it says he was stronger on the puck at camp. He's not bumped off the puck quite as easily as before. And that was one of the things they asked him to work on, be stronger on your skates.
Going back to what I said, everyone's like, oh, it's the same team as last year. These guys improved. They got bigger. They got faster. Well, maybe not faster, but they got stronger. So they're improving. They went back and they had homework to do over the summer and the long break, and they did it. And they're coming back, and they're going to be better players. Now, again, I'm not saying they're going to be all-stars and we're going to outscore everybody all of a sudden, but we are definitely going to be improved from last season. And a lot of these guys are still very, very young and still coming into their bodies for a little bit. Like, if you're able to add 10 pounds of muscle, that's a lot. Like, you can't do that at 30 years old. So when you're this young and you're able to grow into your body and get to your potential weight, your weight and height, it's going to take a while for your body to kind of catch up and your mind to play. So I'm more optimistic about this season, I should say, I guess, than most. I don't know. I'm not saying they're a Stanley Cup contender either. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not but I don't think they're going to be in the bottom 5 again.
Yeah. Well, one other comment I wanted to bring out too was Jacob Lyons here saying, and healthier. 100%. Yes. I think that with all this time off, apart from Shimmick, obviously, because it sounds like he's maybe not doing so hot right now, but yeah, everybody's coming back out there. And I know that the knock was, Couture was out, Hurdle was out, but they were already a bad team. But they still played a significant amount of games, and those games could have been potentially closer or wins, and we wouldn't have looked nearly as bad. We still would look pretty bad, but we maybe not looked as bad. So that I still count that in terms of us being a bad team and contributing to it. That your top 2 centers basically were gone for a portion of the year. One other thing I want to bring up is not a spring chicken himself, Handmark, and I'm probably saying that wrong, but Handmark. He's likely the 4C in my mind and in Kevin Kerr's mind. And Kevin had said, this guy's a 27-year-old that you signed. His rookie season. You wouldn't sign this guy unless you thought he could play in the NHL, which is fair. So it sounds like if Gambrell is sitting on the 3C, that Handmark is not a lock, but he's probably the front runner for the 4C position. It's interesting though, because you did hear Bugner saying, Noah Gregor has put in the work, and he's got some speed and some size and some strength now, more so than he did last season. Then you've also got guys like Joel Shellman, who impressed last season, Antti Suomela, who I think has a little bit of ways to go to impress anybody at this point. But, he's a guy that's in the mix. And like you said, he's had a long time in the offseason here. If he's done his homework, he's done his training, he could come back and become the player that they thought he was going to be, a season ago or 2 seasons ago, whatever it was. And, who knows? There's a lot of competition down there in that 4C position. Now, this is something that Doug Wilson had said maybe he didn't do right last season, was I didn't have competition for these spots. And so the coaching staff was essentially just throwing guys in from the AHL who maybe weren't ready for that. At least now it seems like you've got some of these positions solidified, and the positions that are up in flux, you've got a handful of guys that are going to be vying for those positions and really battling it out for those positions. I can't remember his name. Curtis Gabriel He apparently was in a little bit of a tussle with Antti Suomala. There's a huge weight difference there and a huge experience difference there. And I don't think anybody was dropping the gloves. But I mean, that's again another guy that's ready to come in there and show the coaching staff, hey, I'm ready to rock. Let's do it. Now he's not a center, I don't believe, but there's going to be a lot of competition for these open spots from these guys who feel that they can earn it. So all good things, I think, in terms of that mix of having those guys on the top line, but then having that hunger, that drive on those younger folks to try to get at those last couple positions that are open and available. So lots of good stuff, I think, happening on the forward side of it. The defense looks like it's looking good, if not better. So we'll see how that all kind of shakes out. Anything else you want to say about the forwards before we jump to the goaltending? I know someone's asking about how do you rotate the goalies and everything else. So.
Well, I was going to say about Hannemark, what I really like about his game is he was leading his league in faceoffs. And I think the Sharks had a problem with that last year. You put that guy on the fourth line center, he's going to win you a defensive faceoff. He probably won't get much offensive zone time, but you win that defensive faceoff or he's on your penalty kill. That's a big deal. Now for him, he's coming over from the European League where they had a bigger ice and he has to learn the smaller ice, but he's a big dude. He's bigger. He's not quick-footed. That was kind of his knock. But winning faceoffs, man, you could make a career out of winning faceoffs as long as you can skate at least a little bit. So yeah, fourth line center, penalty killer. This guy sounds pretty good and he's got size, so he's going to be able to push some people around. And Bugner also said that his third and fourth lines, he wants to have some scoring touch on those. He doesn't want him to be dump and chase and just hit people. So, again, having that face-off guy is going to be key in defensive situations. It's going to keep some of your other top face-off guys off the ice so they don't have to do all the hard work down there, which keeps them fresh. So that's kind of why I like him as that fourth-line center. I think, what was it, Gambrell and Gregor were kind of mixing it around for the third-line center, I think it was. And I like that. I like Gregor's the one that has a lot of speed, right? He's the quickest, like one of the quickest guys on the team. So that's gonna put a lot of pressure on the other team if they are gonna have to do a little dump and chase. But anyway, a lot of those spots are open up, and again, there's gonna be competition. And again, the taxi squad I think is gonna be a good thing because it's not like you have to send those guys down to the minors, and if you're on the road, you have to wait for them to travel and get there. You're going to be able to just call them up right there, and they're all practicing together. So someone's not playing well the next night, you pop in somebody else, and they're going to be fresh. I think that's going to help. Let's transition to the goalie thing. A lot of people are asking how you're going to play the goalies. I think it's going to be a 50-50 split. The Sharks have the most back-to-backs in the league.
Before we get there real quick, actually, one last thing I was going to say about Hanmark, and then you can jump back in.
Sure.
Bugner had said that yes, he's phenomenal on faceoffs, and actually against our own guys, our top guys, he was getting the better of him too. So it sounds like he's the real deal when it comes to taking faceoffs. And if he's already showing up in camp and beating some of these normal NHL players, these guys who have been there staples in the lineup for a while, if he's beating those guys, it bodes well because the Sharks have traditionally been a pretty good faceoff team. Maybe not so much last season, but they've been a pretty good faceoff team, so they've got some guys that know how to do it. And losing Jumbo, having lost Pavs previous to that, and then losing Barclay Goodrow, who's another guy who could take a faceoff and pretty well, I might add. Having Hanmark in there, or Handmark, might be just what they need in terms of that. Like you said, on the penalty kill, get possession of that puck so you can dump it down. You throw the puck out of the zone and then change him. Whatever, it doesn't matter. If you can win a faceoff, that's a very valuable tool. So we'll go ahead and jump right back into goaltending. Go ahead with what you were talking about.
I was going to say he can also pass on that information to other players so they can all get better at faceoffs. It's not just a competition in practice to be better than everyone else. He can help out the younger guys too. And going to the coaching staff, Rocky Thompson ran the AHL team for Chicago, right? Was it Chicago? So he's very good with younger guys, and I think the younger guys are going to take to him because he's got a good feel for them anyway. So yeah, let's move to the goaltenders because there's a million questions for people about Jones.
It's the same question. It's the same question a million times, and it. Go ahead.
Who's the starter? Neither. I'm going to say 1A, 1B. I think they're going to switch off and go to hot hand. You lose a game, the next guy goes in. And like I said earlier, the Sharks have the most back-to-backs in the league. They have 12 out of the 56 games. That's a lot. So that made me happy, actually, because I wouldn't want to see one of those guys take over fully. I think it's better that they both stay fresh rather than be workhorses. Because both those goalies used to be workhorses in the league, in the NHL. They probably, what was it? Jones had the most games and Dubnyk had the most minutes in the same span.
Yeah, I mean, over since joining the Sharks, Martin Jones has played more games than any goalie in the NHL at 293. And then Dubnyk, I think, had the third most games of any goalie since that same span at like 4 games less, and only Holtby was in between them. So you've got 2 goaltenders on this team that have seen a lot of pucks. Yeah. So, you know, maybe that contributes to why they maybe had some troubles. But I mean, if you look back to just last season for Dubnyk, you have to remember this guy was dealing with some stuff at home that I think anybody would be distracted by. If you look before that 1 year, I mean, this is a pretty solid goaltender. So you ask about, I mean, the guys in the chat are asking, you know, who's the starting goalie, who's the number one. I'm kind of with you. I don't think there is really like a number one. I think there's just a who's playing well right now. That's going to be the guy that we would go to for a game situation, right? On a back-to-back, you're going to split them. I don't think there's any back-to-back where you don't go from one to the other. I think they draw about the same number of games. I think maybe just by sheer chance, you know, one's going to get a little bit more than the other, just because, not because he's considered the starter. I think he's just going to go with whoever's playing well, and if somebody's having a little bit of a trouble, you know, seeing the puck, stopping the puck, that kind of thing, give him a couple days off, let the other guy run 2 or 3 in a row, and then go back. I don't think the thing is with Dubnyk, you have to remember, again, he was a starting goaltender, right? And he lost his job last season, but again, last season for me is kind of a mulligan. But he's not a career backup, not like Aaron Dell. Aaron Dell's a career backup. So I think Devan Dubnyk knows what it takes, knows what it's like being the starter, has been able to take on game after game after game. Obviously, you take a look at the game played total. Like I said, 3rd most games played over the last few years, whatever, 5 years, I think it was. So I think this is a better situation. I think we've got a better veteran alongside Martin Jones to help, you know, kind of push each other in the right directions. And when things aren't going well for one, hopefully the other one's able to pick it up. But I have faith in Devan Dubnyk. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, Dubnyk's numbers were so bad. Again, for me, look before the year where his wife had cancer. Come on, guys. You know, so if you look before that, I mean, he's a pretty solid goaltender. So,
well, just to clarify, we don't know if it was cancer. It was just nobody says what it was. It was just his wife was having issues. So I don't want to speculate and say that it was cancer because we don't know.
I thought it had came out that that's what it was, but I guess not. Okay.
I think I thought it was earlier, but they've never said so. And I'm not going to, again, I don't want to speculate and say anything. But anyway, goaltending, I think of all the positions, is the most mentally tough position coming from a former goaltender. Not in hockey, though. I was in soccer. But it's I think especially more in hockey, it's such a mental game. Most goalies have skill to play in the NHL. It's a mental thing to be concentrating for 60 full minutes or even more in overtime. So when you're not mentally there, I think that's what's going to break you. So I mean, I don't want to blame everything off the off ice issues. I mean, he's gone on the record and talked about how you know, you start not playing well, and he said he got beat up in the first 5 games. I think he had losses in the first 5 games, and he said he felt this first 3 games, even though their losses were like the best games he had played all season. But then you start gripping the stick tighter, kind of like a shooter, and you start overthinking things and trying to do too much, and then more goals start to leak in. And I feel like Jones kind of had the same issue last year, where the last 2 years, where he's just trying harder and harder, and it's just snowballing out of control. So I think they're both going to bounce back. I really don't think Jones knows he needs to play well, or he's done in this league. He's not going to be on another team. Dubnyk, I feel like, has at least a better resume than Jones at this point. So, but then again, Jones has been to the finals. So I don't know. A lot of people are dumping on the pick or the trade to get Dubnyk, but I feel like the Sharks got him for cheap. And when you think about it, like stocks, do you buy stocks when they're high, or do you buy them when they're low, and then either try to sell them or ride the wave, right? So they're buying Dubnyk on the low, and I have no problem with that. Yeah. None whatsoever. I think he's still a great goaltender.
Hey, Bobrovsky had really great numbers, and they paid top dollar for that.
They paid high, and he had the same save percentage as Jones last year, I think, or pretty close to it. So I don't know. I'm in the mindset of he has the track record. I think it was just a one-off year. I think he's in a better place now mentally. He probably needed a change of pace too out of Minnesota. So, I mean, they have like warm winters there, right? So I'm sure he's very excited to be in San Jose now.
Yeah, no,
No blow his driveway.
No, and again for me, like I don't know, I don't understand the hate on that one. I love that pickup, that trade. You know, you gave up, what was it, a fifth and a seventh or something? I think it was. I forget what it was, but I mean,
It wasn't much.
You barely gave up anything for the guy, and I mean, it's so small, I can't even remember what it was.
Nicholas Lee, good point. The Dubnyk trade wasn't bad. The Wild even retained 50% of his salary. So I mean, that's a heck of a deal right there.
And you know what it was? We got a fifth, we got him and a seventh because it was the Joe Will special, right? Joe Will likes to trade the fifth for 2 sevenths, and so we got a seventh and Dubnyk.
I mean, even if he ends up being the backup, I prefer him over Dell. No offense to Dell, I just don't think that. I think Dubnyk would be a better goalie no matter what. So I don't know. I still like it.
You know, the other thing is, again, this is a guy who's a veteran in the league. Yes, he's older. Yes, it's a 1-year contract. You're not signing this guy to anything long. So if it does work out, great, and you've got him in your organization, and he knows everybody, and you can re-sign him. If it doesn't work out, great, he's done. It's 1 season, 1 year. That's all it is. Yeah. So this is a real low-risk move, and especially when you're looking at the team as a whole, and people are looking at it going, "Oh, the Sharks are terrible. They're not good." Then why would you go out and get a Bobrovsky or anybody else? Just get a guy to fill in the spot, then, right? Yeah. I think this is a great move because, again, if he bounces back, it's going to look really good. And if he doesn't bounce back, this team wasn't supposed to do anything according to everybody else anyway. So what's the difference?
That's the other thing. I don't know. If they do anything well, it's going to be a great season, right? They make the playoffs. That's better than anything anyone projected. So it's almost a win-win season to kind of have less pressure on the team, less pressure on all the younger guys coming in, just play the game. And I really think what the Sharks are going to do, what their plan is, their unofficial plan, they're not tanking. They're not going to tank. They want to see what they got, give these guys experience. It's a short season. So if you start piling up some wins, you win 2 out of every 3 games, you're going to jump in the standings and you're going to be up there. I don't think there's going to be – I don't think there's going to be much separation. By the time you get towards the end of the season, I think everyone's going to be very close. So if you can get off to a hot start and rip off some wins, I think you're going to put yourself in a good position. And I think the Sharks can do that. I think what they want to do is see what they got, see if they can make playoffs. If they can, great. Maybe add some players at the trade deadline. Who knows? At least they're open and they have space to do it. And if not, then you can sell. We have all of our picks, I believe, for next season. Just about all of them, if not all of them. Let me look real quick. 2021. We don't have our second round, but we have our first and everything else. So I think it's a win-win. You make playoffs, it's great. And going back to the schedule, someone complained about the schedule. The NHL always screws them over. The Sharks asked for a road-heavy schedule in the beginning because they can't play at SAP. So the good thing about that is at the end of the season, they're going to have a lot of home games, a lot, which is great. They're going to have less travel. So a lot of teams are going to have to travel to San Jose, which is not close to a lot of these players or a lot of these teams. So they're poised to have a better schedule, I feel like. And
they're poised to have a better ending to the season, which is you want to go if you're going to make playoffs, you want to go into playoffs on a high note. So, yeah, absolutely. You get more home games. Hopefully those home games are at SAP as opposed to Arizona something stadium, right?
But even they're playing their home games in Arizona for the beginning, right? For their home games in the first, who knows how long, month of the season, 2 months of the season. That's less travel than going all the way to San Jose and back to wherever they need to go. So they're going to have less miles than they normally do this year, which is going to be better for the players.
What was I saw a comment here. Hold on a second. Guys, San Jose is going to win the cup. Y'all acting like they don't have the tools to win it all. Not only do they have more than what's necessary, they have health. I love your enthusiasm. I think it's misplaced, but yes, go Sharks, my friend. Right below that, Nicholas Egan. Dubnyk is a holdover to give Melnichuk another year of development. I can 100% see that. No problems with that whatsoever.
Yeah, he definitely needs a full year in the North American League.
What's that?
He needs a full year in the North American League. AHL, whatever. Like the North American ice is a lot different, plays a lot differently than the other one. So absolutely,
100.
I think he needs it. Plus,
Yeah, and right now
you'll learn some English. You'll give him a year to learn a little bit more English.
yeah, there you go. And right now he's getting a little bit of that taste right with the training camp, right? So he's getting a little bit of the action with the NHL caliber players. He's getting a look at the smaller ice surface and everything. So hopefully this training camp teaches him a few things that'll help him out. I feel like he's going to be playing with the Barracuda. I don't think he's going to be sitting on the taxi squad. I think it makes more sense to give him some reps. The same argument could be made for Ryan Merkley as well, but I feel like if he's on the cusp, they'll just play him. But with Melnichuk, yeah, I think it'd be great for him to be able to play a full season with the AHL Barracuda, right? Give him an opportunity to get used to the ice, like you said, get used to the language and everything else. So, I think it bodes well for not so much this season, but for the next season. I know it sounds like Dubnyk might be just the 1 year and then he's done, and then Melnichuk just steps right in. But if Melnichuk's not quite ready yet, there's nothing saying another season of having Devan Dubnyk, especially if he played well for this year. There's nothing saying we can't sign him for another year or two or whatever else it is. So it depends on when Melnichuk's ready. I think everybody that wants to try to rush our goalies in there. I think as soon as we drafted Shortridge, everyone was like, "Is he NHL ready? Is he NHL ready?" It's like, no.
They're looking for the next.
It takes a while.
That's why.
What was that?
They're looking for the next Bennington.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. You ruined everybody's team and fan base thinking they could play GM by firing the coach and bringing up the ECHL goalie and win a cup. Anyway, let's do roll call real quick. Where are you watching? How'd you find us? And
we'll kind of thumb through some of these comments while you do that. But what else are you going to have them say? Which piece of Fin Factor gear are you most likely to purchase?
How many of you have Fin Factor gear? How about that?
Oh, there you go.
A lot of them
if
do.
you have it. And if you don't, why not? It's cool. You don't have to. Let's see. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these comments here. Sharks will not trade their first. 100%. I agree with that. Sharks want to
trade. I feel like the Sharks won't be trading any picks, even if they're going to make playoffs and going to make a run. I don't think they're going to do it. So they're going to hold on to it, which is good. They need it. They know they need to stock up, especially. I mean, again, this is a season to make or break, not make or break, but see what you got and then adjust. And next year is going to be such a whole different ballgame because new TV contract. So hopefully the league will get a way better deal than what they have now. Teams will get some more money. Salary cap will go up. Seattle's going to be taking a player, somebody from the Sharks. So that's going to open up a spot, maybe a big name player with a big contract. And then if the Sharks do play well, let's say the Sharks make playoffs, surprise people, and the league's going to take notice, right? Other players, I'm talking about other free agents, they're going to see the Sharks make playoffs and go, wow, there's some really good players in here. And that could make it a free agency destination next year when the Sharks have more salary cap if a big name player leaves. You know what I mean? So it's a big year for the Sharks. It's going to set up next year, I think, more than winning a cup this year. But, of course, everyone's not picking the Sharks to win the cup, so they probably will. So I'm going to go place some money down because I'm sure their odds are horrendous and win a lot of money. And then the Fin Factor show will get a lot more upgrades than what we have now.
It'll be like, yeah.
There you go.
Nice. Jacob Lyon says it's really down to Merkley or Pastrnak on who makes the final defense spot. I hope Pastrnak makes that final defense spot. I mean, I don't know that he will. I don't even think that he will, but I think it'd be great. Again, I was so impressed with him for that one flash that I saw of him. And then, you watch the highlight films, and of course they show you the best of that player. But he shows some real brilliance with the puck. A lot of hard work. The guy works really, really hard, and he has to because he's a smaller guy. Not much taller than me, and I'm only 5'7". So Yeah, he's a little guy, but he plays with a whole lot of heart. I would love to see him make it in this league, and it'd be a great acquisition for the Sharks in that respect. So let's see. Wouldn't be surprised if Merkley plays more in the AHL so he can get more ice time. That was the kind of the argument there. Does it make more sense to play him in the AHL where he's going to get tons and tons of minutes, and he'll be running the power play there anyway? And the first power play.
I think because AHL is not starting until February 5th or so, right around there. He's going to be on the taxi squad. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a for sure bet, if not in the lineup, at least to start the season. Then once the AHL starts up, they're probably going to send him down unless he is like how Marc-Edouard Vlasic was when he started in the league, and they can't take him out of the lineup because he's playing so well. I don't know if that's going to happen. I feel like there's most likely he's going to be playing in the AHL at some point, mostly, but I do think he will make at least the taxi squad. That's my guess.
100%.
Rules work.
Yeah. Well, no, 100%. He'll be on the taxi squad to start. It's just I'm more saying, should he be a mainstay on the roster, or should he, once the AHL kicks off their season?
We'll find out. We'll find out if he truly is this blue chip prospect who's one of the best defensive prospects in the entire league. Then he would be able to stick.
Reading the comments here, Bob Jackson with a creative, I'm from my mom, and I found you on the interwebs.
Nice.
Thank you, Bob.
Zinksy, bold prediction here. Coach, 20 to 25 goals, team of 25 plus. You know it's a 56-game season, right? That's pretty cool. In an 82-game season, maybe. Donato, 10 goals. I think Donato's going to get closer to 15 goals.
In a shortened season?
He's going to get 7 goals and 20 misses. Patty, maybe. Yeah, I can see 10 goals. Gambrell, I'd say 10 goals. Then he followed up, just trying to make a conversation, leave our goalies alone. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, Zinksy, we used to play with Zinksy on NHL 20, and then he jumped ship.
Speaking of AHL
abandoned,
20, we both now have NHL 21.
Should have AHL 21. We're not that good.
NHL 21. So we started the league again. If anyone's looking for a team on PlayStation 4 or 5, I guess, because it's the same game, you can join us, and we will be playing. We also are doing the fantasy hockey leagues. There are 2 leagues, and I had one person, I think it was Patrick, actually had dropped. So there's currently 1 spot open if anybody would want to join. You can just email thefinfactor@gmail.com, and I will send you the link. Another thing I was going to do, and producer Jason's going to help me out here. Paul and I have been friends since kindergarten. We've known each other since kindergarten. So every week I'm going to do something. He has no idea what I'm talking about right now either. This is a big surprise to him. It's not a huge surprise. Don't get too excited. But I am going to go through the vault of pictures and find pictures of Paul and I as kids. So here's the first picture here. Paul, I don't even know if you've seen this picture.
Why?
So that's Paul's on the second to the right there in that white sweatshirt with a yellow, or you're holding a Frisbee, it looks like. And then that's me down below with hair and a Sharks hat on. Go figure. Probably some field trip or something at the beach, because that's a bunch of our classmates. What year do you think that is?
I can name everyone in that photo.
Huh?
I can name everyone in that photo.
Yeah, I can name everyone in that photo. I still talk with most of those people in the photo. I think that's about 6th grade.
Here comes macaroni art from kindergarten, Bob Jackson.
Anyway, I thought it'd be fun to show this picture every week. I'll find a new picture every week, and I'll post this up here because it's fun.
So this is going to replace me doing some sort of stupid intro?
Basically, yeah.
Tune in, everybody. Look at young versions of myself and Aaron. Things. He had hair. That's what you're going to tune in for. Who cares about me? You're going to see him with hair. That's the big thing.
That's the main reason. I just wanted to show off my hair. I did once, in fact, have hair. I love showing pictures of me to my kids, and they're like, "Who is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I used to have hair." And like, "Where'd it go?" I'm like, "I don't know. It just fell onto my face, and it's gone."
It had to be early 90s. Yeah, it had to be early 90s because you had the Sharks hat.
Yeah, I think that was 6th grade, either 5th or 6th grade. Looked like. based on what we look like.
You guys have come a long way. Do you mean just like as people from the pictures that you saw, or do you mean like the show? Because both. Yeah, actually, we have.
Get on with it.
Yes, get on with it.
Yes, get on with it.
Get on with it.
Thank you, super producer Jason. Having fun. Love it.
We're gonna have to put that Toronto jersey on there.
Yeah, we have to put the Toronto jersey on there now. It's the same clips though, dude. I thought we had some more you can cut in there. What's going on? Same old, same old.
Yep.
Give him something.
Get on with it.
You didn't like that. Yes. Okay. Oh, people. All right, cool. Anything else, Aaron? Or are we good to go here?
I think we're good to go. Just want to take some more questions.
Well, let's take a look at some of the questions. I see Matt Loa here. Curtis Gabriel has to be at least on the taxi squad, especially if we're playing VGK, LAK. Yeah, so Vegas, Los Angeles, St. Louis 8 times each this season. Yeah, 100%. I mean, especially being that you're going to play that division and pretty much exclusively that division, right? So there's a whole lot of bad blood there, and a guy like him coming in there and kind of keeping some guys honest wouldn't be such a bad thing. He's got I didn't give it to Super Producer Jason, but there was a picture of him on Twitter with some skates, and on one skate it's got it was like pride colors and everything else, and on the other side it was Black Lives Matter, and he's very much into the social justice aspect, and I wonder how much he's going to kind of team up with Evander Kane on some of these events and whatnot. It seems like it could be a pretty good match for the two of them to kind of bond over. So
maybe they can fight the Logan brothers.
Yes, the Paul brothers, Logan Paul and what's his name?
Oh, sorry, Paul brother. It's funny. Like I saw the little clip of him talking smack, and he's like, "Center of the Sharks? What is that? A fish?" Like, come on, are you really that dense, man? I had to look up who this guy was. I'm like, who is this guy? I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Just need the
Too
big
old for that, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Where do you think Dubois will end up? I think the Sharks try to obtain him. Oh, Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Pierre, is that the guy from Columbus? Dubois?
Yeah, I don't think he's on Columbus anymore. But yeah, I have no idea. I mean, all I know is he's a very talented player, and he probably wants to go to a team that's equally as talented. So. It's one of the things that, probably not. And again, I saw it in the chat earlier. Doug Wilson's not going after anybody else right now. He's not going to be signing any free agents. He's not. I mean, he might make a trade or something like that, but I don't think he's going to acquire anyone else right now.
Yeah.
So
I don't see the Sharks making any more moves or adding anybody.
Oh,
and going back to the Hoffman thing, that's kind of a screwy thing because St. Louis, a lot of people are mad at St. Louis the way they're doing. They basically have a handshake deal with signing Hoffman, but they can't sign him because they have to wait till the start of the season to put people on long-term IR. So Tarasenko and somebody else is going on long-term IR to free up the cap space so they could sign Hoffman. So they kind of already have a deal in place, even though they don't have a deal in place. So they gave him a what's it called? Workout contract. Tryout thing. Yeah. But it's BS. He's going to sign there, and it's kind of like, geez, man, they're just stacking their team right now. But good for them. They're going for another cup.
Apparently, Pierre-Luc Dubois just signed with Columbus for 2 years anyway. So, Oh, he wants to be traded. Okay, good to know. I honestly, that's the only way I can see it happening is if we're trading for another asset. We're not going to be acquiring an asset through free agency. I don't see Doug Wilson doing that at this point. So,
Alex Steen was the other one. PTO, professional tryout. That's what the PTO is. Alex Steen is the other one going on a long-term IR.
Okay. How do you think the Tahoe games will go? The visuals should be pretty cool. I know everyone's upset about the Sharks not getting to the Tahoe outdoor game, and I get that. It certainly makes sense. We're close enough to it, but like you had said, I think on Twitter, it doesn't make sense because they haven't earned it. We're not a very good team. No one wants to watch us.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Same with why the Sharks aren't on any national broadcast games this season. Do you think they earn the right to do that? No. It's the same people that complain that the national broadcasters suck. So why are you complaining that you get Randy for all 56 games instead of getting some nationally broadcast person that you're just going to complain about anyway. So you should be happy. Whatever. Nobody's going to stay up and watch it anyway because they're on the East Coast. So there you go. The more you know.
Ah, jeez. I always get it backwards. Anyway, okay, cool. Anything else you see in those comments there that you wanted to bring up, or this is your last chance, people who are watching? If you've got a comment that you want us to kind of cover, talk about, or whatever, fire away.
I think the Tahoe game is going to be pretty cool, and I like the idea that they're going to do. So they're trying to find a bunch of scenic locations and not have fans. Maybe even, I don't know if it's just the season or going forward. They're probably just doing like a test run. Imagine the shots that you're going to get. These visual shots that you're going to get of the games being played, especially in Lake Tahoe. I mean, one thing, Tahoe is at an altitude, man. Was it 6,000 feet at the floor? Maybe 5,000 feet? Not quite a mile, just a little short of a mile. So that's gonna suck for the players, but it's gonna look nice. So I'm sure there's gonna be some more locations like that, just really cool scenic stuff with no fans, like just minimal stuff, so you could just open. You don't have to open a stadium. Basically, it opens up your outdoor options to outside of stadiums, because I think the stadium thing is getting a little stale, to be honest. Other than the New Year's Day game, when they have to do the other Stadium Series games, it's just kind of gimmicky. The ice is usually crappy. It's just not fun to watch. It's so far away. So at least this, they can set the cameras up right where they want them to be and do some cool stuff with it. So I'm kind of excited to see how it's going to play out, even though the Sharks aren't going to be in it. Whatever.
Yeah, no, it's always fun to watch those outdoor type games. So what do you think about the reverse retro? Are you getting one?
I like it. I think I really liked it. I might get one. Are you gonna get one?
Yes, I'm going to get one. I just don't know if I'm gonna, because I've been putting my own name and number on the back of the jerseys, just because I know I'll always be a fan. I don't have to worry about being traded because I can't be. But you know,
by the way,
what's that?
Fun fact about Tahoe: it's at 6,200 feet.
Okay.
Altitude for the players when they play the game.
Awesome.
You can't breathe.
Yes, you can. Gone snowboarding there. I can breathe.
All right, man.
I did it the right way this time. Yay!
All right.
All right, cool. Trust me, I'm a pilot. Patrick Cabral says 6,000 plus feet. Nice. All right, cool. Well, I think we've probably run our course. So before super producer Jason gives us another get on with it, I think Aaron, are there any last thoughts? No, you good?
Oh, I'm excited to have real news every day now, instead of stretching news out for 2 weeks at a time because there's nothing else to talk about. So it's exciting to be back, and exciting to be back with the community and see everybody, and a lot of familiar faces and a bunch of new ones actually. So so good to be back. And Johnny?
I
forget it. Jesus.
So you said, there's some actual news. I'm going to go ahead and plug a couple guys that we like on this show. Kevin Kurz, if you're not following him on Twitter, if you're not subscribed to The Athletic, please give that a shot, give that a look. It doesn't cost too much, and the content there is phenomenal. And then Dom, I can't pronounce his last name, but he is phenomenal with statistics and whatnot. He's part of The Athletic as well. And then, of course, Sheng Peng, friend of the show. His work has been awesome. He's been writing as much as he can, as often as he can. Obviously, the pandemic kind of slowed things down for him, but he does really great work. A lot of statistics, analytics, that kind of thing from Sheng Peng. So go give them a follow on Twitter, whether they're on it with Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is that they're on. I can't remember which other ones they're on there, though. I know Sheng's on Facebook, but give them a look on Twitter. They definitely deserve the what do you call it, the subscribership, I guess.
Also follow us. Here's all of our handles for everything.
Well, they are already following us. They're here, so I'm assuming.
You don't know that.
I don't know that. Yeah, and to everybody who the first 6 people in the chat, whatever it was, you guys heard me, and the first thing I said was, please go ahead and reach out to your friends and share us and everything else. Retweet us so that we get some more people coming in here to make the conversation great. Thank you for that. I know we've got a good handful of folks in here now, and we've been having a nice little conversation. It's always great to have all the comments flowing on the side gives us an opportunity to talk about the things that you guys are interested in. So again, thank you guys for doing that. Okay, Aaron, we are done here. So for super producer Jason, I'm Paul.
And I'm Aaron.
And this has been awesome. And I cannot wait to do it again. Hopefully we're back to our 1 week cadence. We will see. But we will see you
next week.
Probably next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, check out our other content, especially interviews. You can interact with us directly through social media at The Fin Factor and on Instagram at Fin Factor. And don't forget to join our live streams on YouTube.
Visit our website at thefinfactor.com, where you'll find all of our episodes as videos or podcasts. You'll also find our exclusive merchandise to help support our show.